influential businessman, political strategist and advocate for empowering the First Nations of Australia, having nearly 40 years' experience working in the public, private and community sectors, helping build businesses and sustainable economies. Please welcome our very own CPAC Australian Chairman, Mr. Warren Mundine.
I was 5 when I started my career, so that's 40 years comes into it, so I'm 45. Okay. Zuby, how good was Zuby? Yeah. What a good-looking man. You know, a lot of people confused me at last night's dinner as Zuby. They're coming up to me and asking for autographs. And when you look at me, you can see, isn't it funny when I say things like that, people laugh? I don't know why, it's just funny, yeah. Anyway, in the famous words of the Aboriginal philosopher, Maximus Platypus's, I always speak the truth. And so here I'm going to do a bit of truth talking. Unlike the left who talks about truth telling, to me that feels like we're telling you these are the facts. Truth talking is about having that conversation. And as Zuby said, my twin brother, that you have a conversation, you listen, you research and you talk about it. So what I'm going to do today is talk about what we would like to do. That's me and my slave, Andrew. Andrew, if you're there, can you come up and give me another glass of water, please? Is about where we want to head. And so I'll just go through this and I'll talk about it. And also things that we need to celebrate. Ronald Reagan was one of the greatest conservative leaders of the modern time. One of the greatest leaders, in fact. He joined the Republican Party in 1962 and became the famous governor of California. But he began his political career as a Democrat. You notice a lot of comparisons there, you know. And unionist as president of the Screen Actors Guild, a Hollywood progressive. Yeah, that's pretty rare. No, that's pretty common today, actually. He later said, I didn't leave the Democrat Party, the party left me. Mm-hmm. Progressive parties like the Democrat Party in the United States and the Labor Party in Australia and Britain used to be about supporting families, supporting workers and campaigning for civil rights. They believed in justice, democracy, self-determination, peace and security, and equality. Now they want to replace the family with government. They close industries, destroy jobs, especially blue-collar jobs and unskilled jobs of the people they supposedly represent. I did a trade. I left school at 16, did a trade. I was a fitter and turner in the factories of Silverwater, which people in Sydney know the factories of Silverwater. And I remember a couple of years ago when I was talking about, you know, Aboriginal education and Aboriginal jobs, excuse me, Linda Burney, our Honourable Minister, said, what would Warren know? He's just a fitter and turner. And this is how the left has moved, that they've moved to the elites. You know, they're more comfortable sitting with corporate woke CEOs and board directors than actually with the people they're supposed to represent. They promote policies that entrench welfare dependency and addiction, and they support authoritarians, which was my fitter and turner comment, cancel culture and controlled by bureaucrats. They grow up in a working class family living, and I grew up in a working class family living under segregation. We had a special branch of bureaucrats in each state and territory controlling every part of our lives. These were variously called the Aborigines Protection Acts. They were supposed to protect us and look after us. Nice sounding things, but really it's about control. We believed in God, family and work. We thought that was normal. My dad was a lifelong Labor Party supporter and a unionist. And the reason for that was after he come back from the Second World War, he wanted to buy a house, which is a normal thing for most Australians. But he realised under the Aborigines Protection Act, he didn't get the same money as the person working next to him. So he was a smart guy. During the war, he used to hang around with the engineers and learn how to drive a grader. So the grader driver next to him, if he wasn't Aboriginal, was, say for argument's sake, was earning $100. He was only earning $40. And this is how these protection acts work. But my dad was lucky to find a union organiser, because they didn't actually support us that much in those days, and he got the full wage. And in 1947 he was able to buy a house, and it was a nice house. We had 4 rooms, you know. I mean 4 rooms, not 4 bedrooms. My parents, mum and dad, lived in one. I don't know what they were doing in it, but they lived in one, because I know they never had sex. Put that, oh God, I've got a terrible vision now. Anyway, and then the girls, they had 11 children. Yeah. And not having sex, I thought I was Jesus Christ for a while, but especially with my mother, she used to sing out to me, "Jesus, what are you doing?" Christ, what's happening there? So, and the girls lived in one room, and we had a kitchen and dining area and a bathroom. And then my brothers and I slept on a veranda. And then over time, my father, enclosed it, and it looked good. And of course, I had 8 brothers, so I never got my own bed till I was 13, and I had to get hepatitis to get that bed. And the things you do to get a bed, I tell you. And my younger brother kept on wetting the bed, little bugger. But anyway, if I asked my dad what he thought of someone, he always said a few words. He was a very simple man, very old-fashioned man. In fact, both my parents were. And, it was, because I actually never saw my parents hold hands or even kiss. That was, that's why I know they never had sex. They were very old-fashioned in that, and never swore. I remember my mother said once at me, she said, "Bloody Christ," and then she said, "Oh my God, you made me swear." If I asked him that, he'd say he's a worker, or she's a worker. And it meant Dad thought they were good people. They went to work every day, put food on the table and supported their family. If he said he's not a worker, that meant Dad didn't think very much of him at all. And there's a book out in the foyer here at a very reasonable price with a gorgeous photo of a good-looking Zuby on the front, which tells the story of my family. And I used them as a journey about Australia from the 1840s when white people first come up to our country until 2017, and about how life has improved and changed for my family and for my people. My family fought for decades to end segregation and the Protection Board controlling Aboriginal lives, for equal rights in the Constitution. That's what we wanted. We just wanted to be equal rights in the Constitution. In the past 3 years, Progressive governments all around Australia have let bureaucrats control people's lives in ways I've never imagined. You know, they locked us up, and I discovered I couldn't work with my wife, and my wife discovered I had to go back to work. And they wanted to put unequal rights in Australia's constitution. So when people wonder how Warren Mundine, a former national president of the Australian Labor Party, ended up joining Australia's conservative side of politics, I say I didn't leave the Labor Party, it left me. I became chairman of CPAC, and it wasn't the alcohol, it was my slave who really convinced me. He obviously learnt the lessons of Marcus Platypus. I believed in justice, you know, the rule of law, equality before the law, democracy, the liberal democracy philosophies, self-determination, you know, getting out, working, getting educated, taking responsibility for your own life experiences and your own opportunities rather than waiting for the government to hand them to you. Peace and security and equality. You know, in the last 50 years, since 1970, there's no discrimination laws in Australia anymore against Aboriginal people, Torres Strait Islander people. In fact, we have all the same rights and opportunities as everyone else in Australia. In fact, I made a comment to some school kids. I said, there's thousands of opportunities out there. You know, there's not one opportunity, and if you miss that bus, and there's no more. There's thousands on it. You know, if you miss the 407, you can get on the 705, or you make those choices and that. You know, I say pick an opportunity, or pick two, or even pick even more, because throughout life I had many opportunities. Some was a bit of luck, a lot of it was hard work, and this is where I am today. CPAC's mission is to promote the idea that all citizens enjoy the fundamental rights to justice for all and accountability to the rule of law, democracy, the right to vote in uncorrupted elections, in liberal democracies that support individual development and well-being, self-determination and the freedom to act, speak and think independently. Peace and security, free from the threats of aggression, war, terrorism, oppression and crimes against humanity. Equality, where every person can engage in society with an unfettered opportunity to continue and share in the benefits of national prosperity. Being conservatives is about those 5 points. They are conservative ideas because they are fundamental, age-old principles tested over time. But they're also hard-won. You know, we heard about Reagan's comments yesterday, and we heard about Margaret Thatcher's. You don't win battles, you don't win wars, you win battles, and then the next morning you get up and you fight the same battle again. The left is like the Walking Dead. They just keep on coming back. They're a determined lot, and also they've got no fashion taste too. They're terrible. Yeah. You know. But they're also hard won, and they are under threat, and have been under threat for quite a while now. CPAC is fighting for those basic values of liberal democracy and individual rights. And many people you heard speak this weekend, you know, they get attacked in the media, social media, as fascists and Nazis and evil people. I didn't know that. I was, you know, racist and that. But anyway, Some of you might not have told you, what was Sammy Davis Jr. did? He was also Jewish. How could he be a Nazi? Anyway, some of you may not have told your work colleagues or neighbours that you were coming to CPAC. You might not have posted CPAC selfies on social media because you worried you'll be called a fascist too. That is ridiculous. That's right. What you heard this weekend is people get up and speak the facts. And we speak common sense. Stand up for values that Australians resoundingly agree with, and many progressives, actually support us as well. The people attending this weekend are from all walks of life, not some fringe minority. What did you? This is a good question to you. Clap and cheer if you think this is great. What did you think of the opening ceremony and yesterday's CPAC 2022? Yeah, my slave did a good job. I'm not going to whip him this week, so that's all right. We want to build this movement and reach out to all the other people out there who support these principles. And there are many, and we want to bring them into our tent. We want to start this movement to fight back. Most Australians want normal things. They want to get an education, get a job, set up a business, marry and have a family, build a future for that family, buy a home and get their jarjums, which is children in my language. I like the word jarjums, and educated. So, Marcus Platypus gave me that idea. So they can do the same thing. That we can all do the same thing. It was like my father in 47. He was no different than any other Australian. He come back from the war. He wanted to build make up for those years away. He wanted to, Mum and Dad wanted to have a house that we can all grow up in and feel safe and get an education and so on. In fact, my parents were so tough about education. Look, never take on my mother. I told you about she flogged the welfare officer with a broom. Mate, she was 4'11", and anyone under 5 foot you never argue with, I can tell you that. My father was 6'3", and he was the most scared man of my mother, just like, he used to sit there, yes, Mum, okay, Mum. And, and these are the things that we all want. We want to build this movement, reach out and get all these people together. And, despite what these silly people out there. In fact, I'm really worried about what we get, about the demonstrators. We didn't do a good job. Not enough of them turned up. But this is what we got to do. We got to, we got to do two things. One is celebrate. Last night's meal was Sir Robert Menzies' gala meal. Do people know that Sir Robert Menzies in 1962 extended the full voting franchise to Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander people? He and his government did that. We need to celebrate that. If I left, the Labor Party did that, we'd have, parades and a public holiday, and we'd be dancing in the street and building statues and then pulling them down, and we'd have a great time. And we were the people. In fact, last week Nick Cater made, if you're in the audience, great move by the Menzies Research Centre, having a gala dinner for remembering the 50th anniversary when Senator Neville Bonner got into Parliament, the first Aboriginal to get into Parliament, and 32 years before the Labor Party actually did. They're a bit slow. Progressives, I love progressives, they move at a very slow pace. So we need to celebrate them. We need a 67 referendum. We need to celebrate that because that was Harold Holt. We need to celebrate all the good stuff. AB studies, that was John Gordon, helping Aboriginal kids getting to school. That was John Gordon, another Liberal Prime Minister. And Coalition Prime Minister. We had the coalition of Liberal and National Party have done some great things. Some of the things we wanted, Colombo plan, the White Australia policy. It was not the Labor Party who got rid of the White Australian policy, it was the coalition government. With the Colombo plan, where thousands of Asian people come to Australia and were educated and they're now in powerful positions. I heard some really great stories about that. What CPAC is going to be doing, we had a few hundred people in our 2019 conference. We got nearly 1,000 to this one. We had 150,000, someone told me last night 160, we still haven't looked at the American figures, people watching us online. As I jokingly said, that was more than what Q&A got, but anyway, we need to reach out to that 150,000 people. We want to get them here. We got a $5,000. Yeah, if you get, that's what you get paid if you work a little bit harder, my slave. But 5,000 people stadium next door, we want to fill that, and we want to give that information they can take out and challenge us. So, will yous be coming back next year? Yes. Will yous be spreading the word about how much fun you had and you met the world's greatest comedian? Yes. Will you be talking about all these speakers we had so much great things to do, even though I didn't understand Ross Cameron, but that's all right. But are you going to talk about them? Yes. I'd like to see us go out and talk to everyone, but look about bringing 5 of your friends next year. That's what we like. It's not a hard job. Just ask 5 of your friends. Do it, my slave, to get me drunk, and the next minute I'm chairman or whatever. But bring them next year. That will give us nearly 5,000 people. So that's what I want us to do. We're going to move on and do some really great work. We want to do some youth work and stuff like that. For me, anyone under 50 is youth. But anyway, and we want to reach out and we want to run campaigns and get out there and work with our Conservative brothers and sisters in the National Party and the Liberal Party and the crossbenchers and that, and help them to ask the questions in Parliament, to raise the issues and get legislation done. But I'll just finish off now by saying thank you. You know, my slave does this work because he doesn't want to get slapped. I do this work, Andrew does this work, and we do this because we believe that we can make a difference for the betterment for Australia. We believe yous do too, so thank you for coming along today. Thank you for that 150,000 people who watched us on stream. And also, what an amazing team we got here. We've got all these people, volunteers, some professional people here and that working too. They have made this happen. So we'd love you to sign up, become members. We'd love you to bring your friends along. And most importantly of all, buy that fantastic book by that Warren Mundine. He's really good. Thank you very much.